right. It says we are live, and oh my
All
God,
right.
we have pennies for Vegas on here.
Oh no, we better
That's
shut
not
down the
any
stream.
Baseball
Forget
games
about
to gamble on. Welcome, Mark. We're just sitting here hanging out. We really don't know what we're doing. So I don't know. I can't even see on this. Let's see if I pull it up on the YouTube app. See if there's anyone else that's joined us today. Did put this on the Twitter and the Facebook group, so we'll see. But it is, of course, Easter Sunday for those of you who celebrate. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Which I assume means that it's relatively close to Passover because those do intervene. So if anyone celebrates that, happy Passover.
I think that's, I want to say that's April 22nd.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's
I want to say, I can't remember my Jewish calendar, and Lena is going to kill me.
We bring you on here just for to make sure that that we are up to date on.
Oh no, I was right. I was right. It is April.
Australia's in the house.
Nice. Neil is in the house. No, I was right. It is April 22nd.
Long ways away.
Yep. So we got another 3 weeks.
People dropping in along the way, but yeah, the more or less thought process for this video was just to kind of talk about the state of Vegas, kind of a state of the union, if you will, but a state of Vegas discussion here as we're basically getting ready to enter month 4. And so we'll talk about some of the things that are going on in Vegas and things that are not going on, because probably the biggest news this week is the closing of the estimable Tropicana Hotel and Casino, which I believe, and I'm sure Kevin will correct me, opened back in 1957. Is that correct?
April 4th, 1957.
Oh, okay. They couldn't have even like waited a couple extra days to give it a full anniversary send-off.
That's what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
But it was over budget and over schedule when it opened. So, I mean,
yeah,
like pretty much every hotel casino on the Strip.
Yeah. I guess before we even talk about any of the issues around the Tropicana, I guess anyone have any special Tropicana memories they'd like to share? I mean,
I've got a few. Tropicana was my favorite. The Laugh Factory show there was I moved here in 2009. I've gone to that show 20 times a year since. I mean, it's just we go to the comedy show all the time, and I've become friends with some of the comedians, and it's just my favorite show. Always going to the Laugh Factory show. So they said they're going to open up in a different place, but they don't have a new location set yet. So
I was about to ask you that, whether they had a new venue rounded up.
Yeah.
Where do you guys think they should drop that off at? Where do you think that would fit in? Put in the Laugh Factory. I feel like they're going to move it over to Oyo, but I'd rather have it at PH.
Planet Hollywood would be better for them, probably. I think.
Yeah. There should be plenty of space there
on the Strip,
PH or in the mall to do another show.
A couple shows have already moved over there. They announced. I forgot which two, but there's a couple that have already moved.
Well, is Purple Rain going somewhere? I assume.
Yeah, that's one of them that announced.
Oh, okay.
Where they're going, and I forgot, but I have it somewhere. Let me look it up.
Yeah. One of the couple things about Tropicana, and I never played there very much, and I never stayed there, which of course now I never will. But I always remember the couple of occasions, and maybe this isn't even true anymore, the couple of occasions when I rented a car in Las Vegas. It was really nice to be able to pull into the surface parking lot right there at the Tropicana. I mean, you didn't have to go into a garage. I mean, you could literally park right there between, well, it was probably Hooters at the time, but Oyo and Trop right on the surface. And you don't find that too many places in Las Vegas anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they've only got it feature. Where else? I think they've got it Excalibur and Luxor for sure. Pretty much just the South properties.
Yeah. I think if you want to park right way behind Excalibur, you can do it, I guess. I think I did that one of the first times I was in town. But actually spent a little bit of time there, not this past September, but the previous September for for my birthday. We went up there and saw several of us, your Auntie Sin, and then God, now I can't think of their names. Carson and those guys from.
Oh, you went with Vegas Legacy, right?
Yeah, Vegas Legacy. There's so
Yeah.
many names. Vegas Legacy, and then
so many damn channels now.
Mark and Liz and I, we all went to that show. It was like a kind of a female. Well, it was a legend show, but it was like a female impersonator version. It was a pretty good show, and they moved us down front because there weren't very many people there. So
enjoy it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I think that the Tropicana is the U2 of strip casinos, because I don't know what it is about U2, but they have a strong following. They're one of the greatest bands of all time. Second tier, like they're not Beatles or Elvis, but I think they're second tier. But many people just don't understand why they're even a second tier band. They just don't get the hype. Like the Tropicana, a lot of people don't get the hype because they weren't around in the 50s, 60s, or 70s, or 80s, or 90s, even when it was a place to be. And so there's this two groups that some people really love the Trop and the memories of it. Other ones say it's a dump, and why is it even around? That's kind of like with U2.
Actually, yeah, no, that's that's how I feel about the Trop myself too. Being, I think I'm the only millennial in the group today, so I do have the stilt against it, because I think, oh man, I'm trying to remember if I have any fun Trop memories. The only memory
that's the problem. That's my feeling. It's like I can't. I mean, the show was fine. I just can't remember ever really enjoying myself there.
It's just such it's such a middling property. It wasn't terrible. I remember being there and just being super unimpressed. This was like 21-year-old Ace, for the record. This is pre-Wonder Woman, in case anyone's asking. I remember picking up a girl for a date there, and it was just I walked in, the atmosphere was just so depressing and so down. I'm like, I've got a room on this side over here. I can't remember if it was out MGM Grand or Mandalay Bay or anything like that. Like, after dinner, we can just go there. I've even got the extra bed. We don't, nothing has to happen. Like, this just seems like an awful place to be. I'm so sorry.
Wow, that's just a wonderful bit of, cover your ass sort of seduction right there. Nice.
Well, what can I tell you? It's still, 10 for 10.
There you go. All right. I see.
It's a lot easier now being married, though.
It's nice of you all to join us tonight. And,
oh yeah. Speaking of one for ones, guaranteed things with married people. There. Shout outs to the Keynotes.
There you go.
We have to announce our candidacy for.
Has just recently passed us by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's easy to remember their anniversary. It's a day after my birthday.
Yeah.
Oh.
I see you have the better half of the frontiersman in the house as well. Tina, welcome. We're just, as as a coworker of my wife once said in a way that she thought was, well, I can't disagree, a little bit rednecky. It's like, we're just here kind of shooting the shit, so to speak, tonight. But yeah, we kind of focus for the moment on the Tropicana. George mentioned some of the many good memories he had there from going to the comedy club. And so Kevin, I want to throw it to you specifically because you're more knowledgeable than any of us. You're more knowledgeable than me. I'm not sure about the other two. These guys are pretty smart, but
I think Kevin's got one up on me.
Historical perspective on Tropicana, and did it ever have like a really big sort of heyday when it was, or was it kind of like like Sahara? It opened up, and like a week later, the sands opened up and overshadowed it the entire time.
No, it was the place to be when it opened up. Just a brief historical outlook on it. Like I said earlier, I believe, and I've heard others now say this as they looked into the history, I think it's a second tier historical strip casino. I think Flamingo DI or the Desert Inn and Sands is top tier. And then I think Tropicana, Caesar's Palace, Stardust are second tier as far as prominence or importance of what happened and what it was like to be there. I think Stardust is heavily overrated because of the casino movie and because of it, granted, maybe the best sign on the strip in the history of this strip. So with that sign in the casino movie, it's been in pop culture for so long, and it died a quicker death than the Trop, so it didn't linger on through these years that the Trop has had to.
Yeah.
It died a much more permanent death.
And
too, since
quicker, though,
the
too.
resurrection didn't happen. The resurrection
Yeah.
just didn't happen for the poor thing.
So when it opened in
12 years.
57, it opened at a cost of $15 million, which is twice as much as the next most expensive resort. That was Riviera. Riviera opened at $8 million. This opened at $15 million. Imagine after the Fontainebleau opening for $4 billion, the next one opened at $8 billion.
Wow.
And that's what you're looking at, the amount of luxury. And then according to the PR person at the time, it was a writer in the Saturday Evening Post that wrote that it's a Tiffany of the Strip. And they picked that up and started using that for marketing. And so, and it had stars, it had Hollywood stars from the start coming out, whether they were paid or invited. I don't know exactly how much of that was happening, but the people to be seen and to see were there in the late 50s. Siegfried and Roy made their Las Vegas debut in 67. Lance Burton made his magician debut there. In 1972, Sammy Davis Jr. became the first Black person to have an ownership of a strip casino. He owned 8% as part of his deal to play there. And the theater was named after him, Sammy Davis Jr. And this is a year after the U.S. District Court had a consent decree to force the casinos to hire 12% of their employees as Black people, because Blacks still weren't getting hired as of 1971. Yeah. And so it had, and that's in the 70s. And then, of course, the Follies Bergère was the longest running show, 59 to 2009, just short of 50 years. And it was really, in the 80s, it was a place to be. It wasn't the best. In the late 50s, it was the best, and then it kind of held its own through to the mid 80s, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of Las Vegas was really kind of in the doldrums in the 80s, it seemed like, by that time.
Yeah, until Steve Wynn gave it the old defibrillator, the junk bomb.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, I mean, you either you or Ace alluded to it, but how would you compare it versus the Riviera, which died a slow, painful death as well?
I think the Riviera, at the very least, was more active and not on its deathbed the day that it died. The problem with the Trop is they had the, I think, $180 million renovation in 2011. Mm-hmm. And then Penn came along, Penn Gaming, and they kind of tried to do a few things, but they didn't really put any money into it. So by 2015, it's been on its deathbed. So it's been there for almost 10 years.
Mm.
Unlike Riviera, that was kind of still going.
I'd say longer than that. Riviera has this timeless, old school Vegas beloved feeling associated with it. And personally, for me, I never really got that about the Trop. It seemed modern enough, like they were trying to keep up, but tried to keep up about 3 or 4 years too late. Like they decided, hey, we found the extra cash in the petty cash. Let's go ahead and buy this thing that we got the estimate on. It's on clearance now. And that's how it's always really felt to me. Now, again, a lot of this stuff predates me. Kevin's got all this wonderful history and this wonderful, and a lot of it sounds really great. I feel like there's a lot of emotion attached to it too, which is a great thing, but it predates me so hard. I've just got nothing for it. And since then, I mean, since it dropped, there's been nothing really to it since I've been old enough to go to Vegas, frankly.
Yeah, I always kind of liked the aesthetic of it a little bit. I mean, once they did the remodel you're probably referring to, or maybe even earlier than that, and like the rooms, the pictures that I saw, that sort of, wicker Miami Beach kind of feel. I kind of liked the vibe of that, but I just never got much energy from the casino.
I thought the remodel was really nice. I mean, it's kind of crazy actually if you think about it. $180 million to remodel that thing 13 years ago, and now they're tearing it down in April or whenever next year. It's just really kind of nuts. The Riviera with me goes way back because I'm a pool player. That's where all the big pool tournaments used to be.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I knew some friends that worked
time in
for
the
that.
Riviera than any hotel. Before I moved here, I'd spend more time in the Riviera than any hotel in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, Ace is right
that,
on.
That place also had the benefit of like a really great signage out front.
That's true.
Yeah. Ace is right on the mark when he says he's the newer visitor in terms of the last 10, 15, 20 years. And again, the Trop has been just lingering around for the last 10 to 15 years. And so it depends on how old you are and when you first started going. And I think it comes down to personal taste, just like burgers, pizzas, and tacos. Everyone comes up with the list of the great burgers, pizzas, and tacos in Vegas. And you can talk about quality, and they're all kind of there, but everyone kind of breaks off to their own personal flavor and taste. And so with the Trop and Stardust and Riviera and DI and Flamingo and Sands and Caesars and Aria, it's all personal taste and flavor. Are you primarily a gambler? Are you a foodie? Are you entertainment? Are you all the above? You're a little bit of both. And so I don't really get into too much talking about, I try not to do the personal thing. I try to be more objective. What's historical? What went on? How important is the place in terms of?
I always think about when I think about the most important casinos, hotels in Las Vegas over time, what I always try to put into my head is, what are the hotels that people that never go to Vegas have heard of? Everybody's heard of Flamingo. Everybody's heard of Caesar's Palace, probably Bellagio at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cosmo's an
they're
easy
so
one.
they're so iconic that even if you've never been there, you've heard of them. And well, I suppose part of it too, like it's pretty hard to ignore the Luxor. It may not be iconic, but it's a giant pyramid.
No, it looks like something, and it also hits the skyline. That's another thing. Circus has a distinct brand, has a distinct skyline.
Mm-hmm.
Bally's just it doesn't light up the area. It just looks like empty space. It's a void over there, and I feel bad for him. I do really feel bad for him because it is in the worst possible place to try and be distinct on the Strip, because you got the giant Emerald City looking MGM Grand where you have to walk 3 miles just to get to the pool from your room. There's that. New York, you got a giant roller coaster on top of the thing. Luxor, Excalibur. There's so much spectacle around it, and Trop is subtle. Yeah. And it just doesn't work really. It feels like it got lost in the 90s and never caught back up. And it's a real shame. It really is.
So the other thing is that it began, I think, well, I feel like some of the decline is in part because throughout the 90s and 2000s and to today, there's been such a consolidation of casinos, and the Trop was never a part of MGM or Caesars. Right. Had it been absorbed by one of those companies, maybe they could have revived it, or at least it would have been more, if I'm, and I was a pretty loyal Caesars customer for a few years, I'm looking at Caesars properties, and now a little bit more MGM, I'm looking at MGM properties. I don't see Tropicana unless I'm just desperate for a room and I can't find one.
I think there are quite a few people that know more about Tropicana orange juice than the casino. That might be a more recognizable name. And both of the towers kind of look like a hospital. They went to that all white bleach stuff. And so, they're really messed up. And then one of the last owners was what is considered to be one of the worst Strip owners in recent memory, Columbia Sussex, I think, about 8-10 years ago. And right when they were trying to do a major renovation, the Great Recession hit. So between bad luck and poor owners, the last 10 years, it's been bad.
Yeah. Well, I did everything I could to find a thumbnail that would include some picture of the Tropicana, and I think I at least succeeded in that. Like you said, it does look a bit like a hospital. Yeah. So what else is going on in the world of Las Vegas these days? I don't have time to keep up, so I was hoping you guys could clue me in.
Do we want to talk about Old Man Ruffin getting rid of TI potentially, so I can go back finally?
Oh, really? Well, definitely. Go ahead and start on that. I'll be right back.
All right. So rumor mill over over here. So the rumor has it that Phil Ruffin is looking to get out of the casino game, at least in that regard, and allegedly is fixing to sell the TI, the Treasure Island. So I'm sure you guys remember he purchased the thing back in, when the hell did he purchase the thing? Kevin, you probably know offhand there.
When he offhand, I couldn't tell you the exact year, but
I think it was 2009. It was probably like 2009, 2010-ish. He got it. And
Yeah,
it was a while.
The one time that I stayed there with some friends, it was kind of mid 2000-ish, and it was still an MGM property then.
Right.
So, yeah, probably that sounds about right.
Yeah. So, but allegedly, let me see where it says it. I've heard it in the rumor mill. I don't have an official source on the article yet, but that seems to be the rumors that he might be. He's fixing a couple of things up and doing that. And I noticed he was doing a lot of stuff at Circus too. He put in a new SpongeBob ride for whatever reason. It's lots of fun because that's a thing that's happening.
Yeah, I like the look of. I mean, I guess anything is better than what it was, but I do kind of like the look of the new Slots of Fun. At least there's something going on there.
It's really nice. They did a lot of nice stuff there, right?
Did they?
Yeah.
Cheap gambling, cheap food. Keep vacuum once a month. To
give you an idea on the cost of things, the when the Treasure Island opened and the two ships out there, I believe it was $12 million to build the ships.
Oh, for the pirate show, I remember that. That I miss.
So the Tropicana was built for $15 million, well overpriced. In 57.
Well, there's some ridiculous figure that I heard a few years ago, and it's probably gone up since then. But just that, like building a full service hotel these days, the cost of just by room was some ridiculous amount of money.
Oh yeah, I mean it's
$1 million a room or something. Or
I'm sure. I mean, that's why all these projects keep running out of money. How many times did Resorts World run out of money? How many times did Fontainebleau run out of money? Which I guess I have to take a shot for because I thought it was going to be 2025. It was going to open. I thought it was going to be delayed a couple more years, and they pulled it off. So, here's to you guys. Here's to Turnberry. Cheers to them.
Well,
I guess at least it's not an eyesore anymore. I haven't had the chance to check it out, but George, I assume you've been there.
Yeah, I've been about everywhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't gamble much, and that's kind of the main reason there. So I play poker, and they don't have poker there.
Oh, they don't. Okay. Yeah, but.
Fontainebleau, I mean, they finally got the deep pockets that they needed, so they were able to weather any kind of thing any minor thing that would come up. I mean, they couldn't weather a shutdown like no one could, but when they got the deep pockets coming in, that's when I knew they would make it, and the original developer that knows all the problems.
Yeah, I mean, what do you call it? MGM needed every pocket they could reach into to complete City Center at that time. That was
they were ready to on the edge. They were ready to go under.
That was a great recession. That was
I mean
a major external thing that no one could really.
Oh yeah,
and that's also what killed Resorts World the first time too, and what killed.
It would have been what was it? Echelon Place.
Echelon Place. Yeah,
which I would have loved to have seen a new Boyd property right on the strip.
Just to Stardust, just 3,000 Stardust. Be done with that. Didn't have to be, but everyone was doing the whole giant city center thing. They were like, "Hey, MGM's doing this. We got to do this too. We got to one up." Who was the CEO at the time? I can't remember who it was.
No, I can think of the guy. But I can't think.
It wasn't Hornbuckle. Hornbuckle's still really new.
Oh God. Jim something.
Was it still Murin? Was it Jim Murin back then? I feel like he didn't take over.
It was Jim Murin, yeah.
It was still Jim Murin back then? Okay.
During the tough times.
Yeah.
The dark times. And now he.
I mean, that was an area. I'm gonna say area rather than property that opened up and did not initially warm people's hearts. But I think a lot of us have gotten rather fond of Aria and Vdara.
Very beloved now. I mean, it's the secondary base of operations for Ace of Vegas. Obviously, Wonder Woman loves the Aria. She likes the Vdara just fine too. It's quieter and there's no smoking, so she really appreciates that.
Yeah, we really enjoyed Vdara when we went in March. So no, but yeah, it's just it's been a quite a year in Vegas in terms of events. I haven't really heard a lot of negative feedback about the Super Bowl, so I guess it went well. There wasn't a lot of issues. I mean, you know, if you could remember back to the Kobe Bryant MVP All-Star game in Las Vegas, that was a debacle.
Yeah,
that
was a rough one.
But
I think Vegas has had a lot more practice since then. I mean, they had the F1. We'll just call it the F1 event. We're not going to say anything else about that. Are we going to talk about F1? Should we talk about F1? It's way past. We're way past F1.
Well,
yeah,
actually,
we're not doing that. It's coming out. It's coming back, I guess.
It's coming back. They're doing it again.
Yeah. Just in the last couple of weeks, the Clark County came out with a report on that, and it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
What happened was the staff members at Clark County were having to push through these permits as fast as possible. And there was stuff getting built that didn't get permitted yet. So if you and I were to go down to Clark County and want to get a permit to build something temporary or permanent,
it'd take us weeks. Easy.
They would have Metro on site if you started to do anything without their permission. But things just got built without getting properly permitted. And then the workers were overworked because they had their normal Clark County's workload and they didn't have additional staff to manage this big account. And the word was just get this F1 stuff approved and get it going. And they were overworked and stressed out, and the employees were not happy.
Wow.
So it's really starting to come out that it was bad in many ways.
And that's a real shame too. It really bothers me too. Now that, you know, we've got the F1, I'm sure Vegas is going to be prime Super Bowl just because there's never. It's always going to be prime Super Bowl. It's just like
going to be one of those rotation cities like New Orleans or
it's always warm. Weather's always beautiful. Hardly ever snow, so it's never going to be a problem. We learned that at MetLife Stadium.
It's a great stadium. It's state of the art.
Brand spanking
more years.
Yeah. So we're always going to have that. You know, if they do the draft again, that's going to be a thing. I wonder if there's ever going to be a low season in Vegas ever again. I feel like there won't be. There's just so much going on, especially if they do end up getting the basketball team, if the Supersonics end up going back there or whoever.
Yeah, I mean, that's the worst kept secret in sports, and it's not, is that the NBA will expand to Seattle, will expand to Las Vegas, and LeBron will be part of the ownership team.
As always.
Yeah. But is that going to be an entirely new... Are they going to build another arena?
I don't think they need to. I think the smart thing for them to do would be to just take a space in the T-Mobile arena. It's already built. They're not busy all the time. I mean, Lady Gaga's there 3 days out of the week, and then the Knights are playing like 2 nights out of the week. Forget about it. Just let it's not like the Aces are playing there. So you let the Scorpions, or whatever the hell they're gonna call the Vegas NBA team, play there like the last 2 days of the week. You're constantly full over there. It's great stuff. You know, you're getting traffic in there, you're getting Ubers and Lyfts going back and forth. It's just revenue nonstop. I don't know why you wouldn't just do that. And then you don't have to build another facility. There's no other overhead, yada, yada, yada. And T-Mobile gets the money. Everybody wins. That'd be the smart thing.
It may not be on the team end that they would not want to do that. It may be, and I know, like, it's curious because it was the Sprint Center originally, but in Kansas City, there's now the T-Mobile Center, which is the only other arena in the country that has the word T-Mobile in front of it. And having lived in the Kansas City area for quite a while, I actually had occasion to visit. And it's like, originally, of course, it was kind of sold, okay, we're going to bring in an NBA or an NHL team or something, and that didn't really happen. But it's been so successful in terms of bringing in other events that they almost didn't even really feel like they needed it, that they almost wanted to have the flexibility to add other events. So
hey, Steph.
Hi,
And
happy
Steph has joined
Easter.
us. She is
Happy
in her
Easter.
Easter
Everyone.
bunny
Sorry to interrupt.
vest.
Hey, Steph.
Hi, happy Easter.
Caller, please mute your radio right now, please. Let's check it out, see who we have in the chat, because we had a few people join us. PJ is with us tonight.
The one thing on pricing, Ace, is
thanks for joining us. Just having a
I think
nice little chat.
I think it was about 6 months ago, as Caesar's Palace executive admitted to the print media that he didn't really care about the low end. He said it nicely, but they're not really concerned about the low end budget gambler or tourist, because there's not much margin there. So they're going after the middle market. That they might have a casino or two that allows that one people to come in, but they're not going to cater to them. They're not going to give them deals.
Yeah,
so that's on the Caesar side.
That was the big draw of F1 that not a lot of people, I think, understood, was the big money that came into town with some individual gamblers, right? I mean,
right from Europe, yeah. Mostly.
I know a source that told me 2 guys lost $70 million at Bellagio during F1.
Lost?
Yeah.
Wow. How you lose $70 million? I know where $70 million would be. I know exactly where my $70
What's in the coin? It's in your sofa.
Yeah, so it's just the amount of money that went through. And I've never been a race fan. I just want to put the alternative view out there. I thought it was amazing. I just thought it was incredible. I think it's here to stay, and it's going to be a big deal. And I've never been a race fan, but it's pretty incredible just to watch these cars go that fast on the strip. It was, never thought I'd see that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, as the years go by, the sort of how to operate the whole thing, the infrastructure gets better, and you don't have the kind of issues that Kevin was talking about so much. But I think. I can say I honestly never turned it on and watched it, but to me, it's kind of cool. I used to be kind of a race fan years ago, but yeah, Formula One has a lot of money behind it.
Oh yeah, I think the next years will be much smoother too. The first year was just they had to do so much work to get.
Oh yeah,
ready.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think they
Ticket
even
prices
knew
have already gone down a lot.
I'm sorry, Steph. What?
The ticket prices have already gone down a lot.
Oh, have they?
So they learned a few. They learned a few lessons, then basically is what we're finding out.
No, well, it's yeah. I mean, like you said, I mean, there's going to be a baseball team. There's going to be a basketball team. They are going to be in the Super Bowl rotation every 5 or 6 years, I'm guessing, or in that neighborhood. There's going to be a Formula One race, probably for the foreseeable future until people just get bored with it. But yeah, I mean, I remember doing a show probably 2 or 3 years ago where I just talked about sports in Las Vegas and how much it's changed. I mean, you look back and, 30 years ago, the big thing in Las Vegas was the UNLV basketball team. That was pretty much what they had. And then, the occasional big boxing event. But it has changed so much, and sports have changed so much because of the embrace of gambling. That was always the reason given why you would not have, professional teams in Las Vegas. But now, I mean, anymore, I feel bad for Pete Rose sitting in that stupid little autograph shop. It's like, put him in the Hall of Fame, for God's sake. You guys have kissed up to more gamblers than Pete Rose has ever met. I don't know.
I am still not 100% on the A's yet.
Yeah.
You don't think so?
No.
No dice?
I think there's just as much chance of that dream resort gets completed as the A's come to Vegas, which is probably in the 85 to 90% chance of happening. I think the dream resort will get completed by about an 85 to 90% chance. Same with the A's. The A's are still looking for investors, even with the Nevada money and his own money, that it's family money. He's right now looking for investors to finish the financing.
Hey, maybe they'll end up in Salt Lake City.
And they have they have a great partner in Bally's, because Bally's credit rating just got downgraded by 2 credit ratings, Moody's and another one, and they're $800 million. I think is it 800 million short on the downtown Chicago casino they want to build.
Oh, wow.
So they don't have the money to build the current project in downtown Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And now they're going to try to build another casino the next 5 to 7 years. And they lost money. They have 16 casinos over 10 states, and they lost about 170 million last year. And they have about 3 billion in long-term debt. But other than that, Bally's is in great shape.
do you think that's why they were
they basically lost all of their regional sports deals?
Do you think that's why Caesars was so excited to get rid of Bally's? And they're just like, you know what? We're going to go back to Horseshoe. We're doing fine here. Buy it back. Buy the Horseshoe
name back. Don't even want to be associated with that name anymore.
It was the current Bally's chairman's idea of buying back the Bally's name, I think, for 200 million, or maybe less than that. I think it was under 100 million.
Now, I'll sell you my name
the idea
for
is
$200 if you want it.
Right.
The idea is to have the name, and then they have all those baseball networks that cover the baseball teams, and then incorporate that in the gambling sport. So it's a good idea. And everything I've read about, the chairman is doing great things and has turned this Bally's company a lot larger than it was. But I think he's trying to get blood out of a stone at this point.
Oh yeah, definitely.
With all the stuff he's trying to do.
I'm sure Tom Reed did some backflips though when he heard that they were going to make $200 million to get rid of Bally's.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let me see. I don't know if it was 200 million, but it was a chairman's idea, the current Bally's chairman, to get the name.
And I'm sure it paid for the Horseshoe facelift. I'm certain it did. I'm certain.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I mean, this is just a personal aside because I happen to have had the experience, but Bally's also bought probably the worst performing casino in the Kansas City area probably about a year or two ago. It was Isle de Capri at the time, and I believe it now is Bally's. But I've been there since they took it over, and my friend Kevin, who was with us on the live stream last year, has been there several times, and they have really upgraded that property. It is really nice, and it used to be like literally the shithole, the armpit of any Kansas City casino. So, I mean, you know, if they're going in debt, apparently at least they're spending the money in a way that's it's somewhat positive.
But what the analysts are saying is that if Bally's tries to build a $1.7 billion Chicago casino, and they don't even have half that money yet, they're still 800 million short, then they try to build this Vegas one within 10 years, they're not going to have the money and the financing to keep all their other 16 casinos they have. They're going to just go down the drain. And
oh no, you didn't just say the I word, insolvent.
And so, you know, they aren't going to be able to do the basic renovations you got to do every 10 to 20 years with the other 16 casinos.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Steph, we haven't heard much from you. I'm glad you were able to make it in here, and we've been talking about.
I think it goes to show how broke Bally's is.
And some of
they couldn't bring in the gardener for the whole.
Yeah,
the back was terrible out there at the Trop. It's sad. We're gonna miss it.
Yeah. So feel free to jump in anytime. My next trip is probably not going to be till the late summer, around my birthday again. Steph, I think, is there pretty frequently. I constantly see videos of her driving around Las Vegas. Of course, George lives there. Ace mentioned possibly visiting sometime, maybe next month, or
I might have some PTO coming up. It'll just depend on how well we do with this next deal. But that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to talk work.
He's a deal maker now.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
So I dress at work too. Now. It's crazy.
Twice a year now. That's
I know, right? Down from 4 to twice a year. It's breaking my heart. It's breaking my heart, Steph. It's killing me.
Yep. But I got a ton of videos, so that works out.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, it's people will watch. I mean, I think it's what's his name, that Jay Cortez. All he does is walk up and down Fremont Street every night, and he's got like I don't know how many damn subscribers, just people that want to watch it.
Also the Laughing Lion. I mean, Kenzo, that's largely what he does. He'll go to the conventions and walk around the streets.
Sure.
And he has a few subs.
Yep.
I'm glad.
Well, I mean, and you know, you can. I mean, I remember having this conversation with Cinnamon at one point, probably in a chat or something. It's like, you know, I really don't need to see someone walk around the Lake Promenade again, but you know what? People will watch it, just like they'll watch another room video from Bellagio, even though it's been open for 25, 30 years.
I mean, you don't need it, but you want it. That's always what it comes down to. What do you want as opposed to what do you need? Do I need another... Do I need another Star Wars or Dragon Ball Z or, you know, Lord of the Rings painting in my office? No. Am I going to hang up the Darth Vader that, you know, my kids got me? Hang on.
Oh, here we go.
I've got it for my birthday.
Wow.
Am I going to do that? I absolutely am.
Looks just like you.
I know, right? Isn't that perfect? That's exactly how I am at work.
I am your father.
I'm hanging it up. Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
So I have one question for all of you. What is and we'll talk specifically about the strip instead of doing Fremont or off strip, but what does the average resort look like in 15, 20 years? Because now we've blown up to the Resorts World Fontainebleau mega resort with all these rooms. Are they going to downsize? Is theming coming back? Or what's going to happen?
Ooh, where do we start? Do we want to do clockwise? We want to do counterclockwise?
I would say let's go clockwise from you, and then I'll chime in at the end.
Okay, let's talk about Gen Z and Gen Alpha a little bit. So that's how old my kids are. And actually, I think Vegas to Cali Mini Steph she's a couple years older than Mini Ace, if I remember correctly, right?
She'll be 16 this year, yeah.
No, she won't. Stop that. Stop that. Okay. Well, anyway, all right. So in that age range, and the theming, it's a cute sort of thing. It doesn't really do it. I think the theming was really more of a millennial thing, more of a Gen X sort of thing there, and it's got to change with the generation. I think it's going to be smaller. I think things are going to go back to being smaller, not necessarily because of the audience, but because, I mean, let's talk about Fontainebleau for a second. It took so long to build that thing. And, you know, they say it was like, what, $4.3 billion, right? Although that's not entirely true because they already spent so much money. They spent $4.3 billion 2.5 times putting that place together. So it was more like $10 billion. So it's going to be way too much money to put something that obscene together. So they're going to have something a bit more focused, I predict. And they're going to have something that's a bit more bite-sized, like think TikTok, think YouTube Shorts. Everything's kind of going that direction. So they're going to have something really focused, real kind of specialized, and, you know, maybe like two maybe 2,500 room hotels, just doing one thing really well, being a bit luxurious, and then that's going to be about it. It's going to be a little cookie cutter for a lot of them. But I don't see like the mega resort maintaining going forward, just with the sensibilities of these new generations coming up, the Gen Z, Gen Alpha kids. I just don't see that. But I'm not exactly an analyst, so take that for what it's worth. I'll go ahead and pass it over to George.
Well, one thing, when I started this app project, one of the things I did is interview, you know, hundreds of people, and the resorts here are so big it's hard to imagine, but literally 25 of the top largest 50 resorts in the world are in Las Vegas, right? I mean, think about that for a second. It's just crazy. And so we've done maps of all of these resorts, but I think you go there just for the experience. I mean, it's fun to go in all of them, and you'll go there for different experiences in each of the different resorts. I think some people like small ones, and some people love the big ones, right? Where all the stuff is there. So it's kind of to each their own, and I find them all kind of fun. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to pick what's gonna move because you get a Resorts World is beautiful, but hasn't been very busy, right? I mean, Tropicana, in my opinion, it was beautiful after the remodel, but never got any traffic, really, right? They didn't get the whole thing. But where you get,
I mean, the stuff they've done with SLS and Sahara, I thought that was beautiful, but I don't know if it's worked either time.
it's really kind of crazy, but it's location. You know what I mean? The closer you are to Flamingo and Las Vegas Boulevard, the better, right? I mean, that's kind of what it is, and everything around there has been very, very busy. But I don't know. I moved here 14 years ago, and I think it's the funnest place in the world to live. I've never been in a place where I could do anything at any time, and that's what's so much fun about living here.
Yeah, if we can make it work, that's where we're planning to retire.
It's just so much fun. I mean,
I'll drink to that.
So much fun. But as far as size and types of resorts, I think you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff, and that'll continue because it's all a game to try to get the most traffic, right? To try to get traffic and people to come in, right? And what is it going to take to have people visit your resort and spend a lot of time in your resort? But I think the sports aspect is hard to overstate how big of an impact that's going to have. I mean, the Raiders have had an absolutely huge impact on the city, and you're going to see that with baseball and basketball teams too. And it's just and the Golden Knights. I mean, come on, winning the Stanley Cup, it's just been crazy. Nobody ever thought that sports would be here because of gambling, and now it's going to be the sports capital, right? I mean, everything's here. And one thing you guys haven't talked about, and I don't want to get off subject of the resorts, but love to talk about the arenas, right? Dolby Live was my favorite, but now after going to the Sphere, it's game changing. If you guys haven't been there, I'll talk about that after. But it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I don't know. I'll interject here out of turn. I guess I'm after Steph. I'll be next anyway. But years ago, I was like, I can't remember who I was talking to. But I was like, why don't they ever build like properties that like aim at like the middle to the low end? And it's like, well, that's not where the money is. The properties that end up on the middle to low end are the ones that have been around a while. When it first opened up, Luxor and Excalibur were expensive. But now they're not because they're older. They're worn around the edges. No one's going to build a property out, worn, no one's going to build a property that already feels a little worn out. So, I mean, I think we're going to continue. I don't know what the size is going to be. Maybe that's going to be something that's going to have to change. But people are going to continue to build what they think of as like elite and that's going to draw in big money.
Yep.
It's like, the Caesar executive that I think Kevin talked about earlier. It's like, that's really what they want. They put up with us after COVID because we were the only ones crazy enough to go. But now
4 or 5 times a year, all of us.
Exactly. The other day I was talking to my wife and we were sitting here, as we do most every day, thinking about, oh my God, how are we going to get through this baby thing? It just never ends. It's just constant. I had my, I was like, honey, I had my Rocktober shirt on. I was like, honey, we managed to like create an event and put it on in the middle of a massive pandemic. So I think we can manage to get this kid to 4 or 5 months old. Steph, what are your thoughts? We haven't given you a lot of time to talk, and I would like to hear what you think.
The future of Vegas, well, none of us ever want to see it change at all, but it eventually always does because that's just Vegas. It's always going to change. There is going to be a new generation coming in, like our kids, and it seems like they're a bunch of gamers, most of them. And so it's going to be definitely a change from, gambling, although they're saying gambling is hitting the younger generations even harder than ever with sports gambling being so widely available around just the world, actually. So now it's, I think, pretty much legal almost everywhere in the country. So I think we're going to see a lot more casinos, resorts that are focusing on their sports books. You see even those little small ones like Tuscany and all that. Didn't they just get like the Circa sports book in or something like that over there?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see a whole lot more of that because those sports books are making Vegas casinos a whole lot of money. So, and that's the truth of it. So, I think we'll see a lot more growth. I would love to see more theming come back, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be popular enough. I mean, we're going completely in the opposite direction of, I would say, kind of boring because, Resorts World's kind of like, looks like a mall, and Fountain Blue is absolutely gorgeous, but there's a lot of empty space in there and just kind of that mall vibe coming on. And it looks like the shops coming in are going to be catering to the ultra rich. So, and that's fine. I mean, I love walking through the beautiful resorts, the big ones, and even the small ones. This last trip we stayed at Four Queens. We got a room. We didn't actually stay there, but we got a room for one night and toured the place and really, really loved it. That was the first place I ever stayed in 1994, I think. And it was just a good vibe we had down there. So we think we'll head back down and do some more like of the low end resorts and just, you know, I don't know. I love old Vegas. I've always kind of leaned more toward that. Since the pandemic, I feel like I've been more on the strip. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the free MGM rooms. But yeah, I think it's going to be going in a different direction for sure. You got that Dream Hotel coming, and that's a small one. It's only got like 500-600 rooms. And they're saying that one's aimed at the younger generation as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting take. And I mean, I see we had Mark in the chat earlier. We have PJ in there now. And PJ, we've lost Ace, at least for a moment. PJ, Mark, Ryan, and I have like a regular ongoing Four Horsemen chat that we talk about. And honestly, it's like about 70% sports gambling is what the content is. And I'm guessing that that's not that uncommon among men of a certain age, we'll say 40s and beyond, that's become such a big part of what they're doing. I'm really disappointed because we still do not have the online sports wagering here in Nebraska. When I was in Kansas the last few months, we had it, and it was a lot of fun. Of course, you know, probably wasted a lot of money, but yeah, I think that's and I don't know unless. And we have already seen this. I don't know how many of you followed it closely enough with a Memphis Grizzlies player last week in the NBA with some of the prop bets. It was Michael Porter Jr.'s brother, who's a fairly prominent player with the Denver Nuggets. It looks very much like he was basically throwing not games, but his own performance, because you can bet on a guy whether he scores 11 points or more, whether he gets 3 or more blocks or something like that. And I don't know. It's not out of the question that the sports wagering thing could kind of blow up in our face, just like I'm wondering too with like college sports with the name, image, likeness thing. At some point, is that going to kind of go so far that it kind of blows up in our face? But yeah, I mean, if not, that may be a really good direction for some casinos to go, is really focus on the sports wagering and that interactive experience and watching, you know, on some massive screen.
I think that at least early on, this whole sports thing is a bit of a mirage. I mean, there's a lot of hype because Vegas has gotten the new teams recently. And now you got Circa and Circa Sports having their satellite wagering places throughout Vegas. But sports gambling does not bring in a lot of revenue to the casinos. It's a low margin. It's well below slots. There are table games, I'm sure, that bring in more money than per better than sports gambling. And I think over at Circa is what you got to do. It's not just about selling sports gambling. You got to make it an experience, and you got to upsell to the food and beverage. And so you need the experience to get them in to be interested to hang out, and you need the experience to sell the overpriced food and drink. And without that, most casinos, I think, long term are just they're gonna have sports wagering because you need to have it. Just like you have to have the pool. You have the pool, but it's not a revenue generator.
That was exactly what the analogy I was going to make. And I mean, a pool by itself doesn't do anything for you. You have to sell the overpriced drinks, food and drink.
And according to the visitor profile survey last year done by the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, who does it every year through a third party, 6% of all tourists went to a sporting event last year. 6%. So this whole thing about Vegas being the sports capital of the world, and I believe it is becoming that, to the visitor. I believe it's a visiting sports capital of the world. It's not the sports capital of the world. That'd be LA, New York, maybe London, maybe Tokyo. But it's not the sports capital in terms of fans and teams, but in terms of visitors, it is. But when you only have 6% of your visitors going to a sports game, it's in its infancy. If that might grow, but you need a higher percentage than that to really make it.
I'm almost surprised it's that high when you talk.
I was shocked it was that low, 6%.
Yep. I mean, all things considered, it makes sense though. It's been an entertainment town, so the sports is an add-on. It's just it's an extra, and it's still again, like Kevin was saying, it's still new. It really is still new. So
yeah, it's kind of like a show. It's like a production show or a headliner. It's not a driver of revenue. Or even
well, I mean, I think I don't know how much this has happened with the Golden Knights, but I suspect it has. I don't know how much it's happened with the Raiders, but I suspect it has. You become a great road destination for a fan. I mean, if the Chicago Cubs are playing a 3-game series in Las Vegas, well, maybe as a Cubs fan, I go ahead and fly out that weekend so I can go to those games.
Yeah.
And I mean, I suspect I don't know, George might be able to give us more of a take on this because of his local perspective, but I suspect there have been a lot of out-of-town fans at a lot of the Raiders and Golden Knights games.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's huge. That's what happens, right? Because people love the city. It's a perfect time to come here and go watch your team play, right? And it's just it's the best destination for a road travel team for you to go and watch it, right? Because you can tie it in with another trip, and that's the economic impact that has is enormous, and it's hard to understand that, but that's what happens, right? So when the Steelers are in town, tons of people from Pittsburgh are here. It's it's just
and maybe Duder. We don't know
here.
Always only Duder.
Crazy. Crazy.
Sorry, go ahead, George.
Yeah, no, it's just. And that's why I get excited, especially if we, see we have the WNBA team that's really good, but if we get an NBA team and the A's really come here too, this is going to be amazing. I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and there is a kind of synergy, and I mean that goes back to a much older Vegas phenomenon, and that is the convention. And the original building of the convention center and turning the city into using all of those hotel rooms during the part of the week or the part of the year when they were not otherwise going to be occupied by tourists. And it's not perfect, but if you bring if you bring the local bartenders association in for a week, they're still going to go. A lot of those people are still going to go to a show. They're still
we should talk about the conventions.
Go to
now that we have Zoom and since the pandemic's happened, I feel like the convention, we're going to lose that convention crowd, and that's just going to turn into sports. I know that's just a little thought I'm thinking. I think that's where it's going to switch to. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal anymore having conventions. It's a lot of companies are just moving so far away from that. We haven't had an in-person all hands meeting in 4 years at my company. And I don't think it's going to happen ever again, just because everyone's so spread out and there's no point in doing it.
Well, I mean, to largely, I at this point, I don't really see a purpose in it. But I mean, there probably will continue to be people that do it, and these like shows, like the big shows every year. I can't think what it's called.
I mean, it really comes down to two kind of conventions. There's what you would call the white collar business convention, where you're just talking and sharing documents and slides. Those people don't have to go anywhere.
No,
but you're talking about the blue collar, the world of concrete, CES, where you touch and feely and you have to see physical objects. Those will always continue to travel.
Definitely.
So you now have a bifurcated conventions business. One's online largely, one is in person.
All right. Definitely. Oh, since we're at the top of the hour, JR, I leave this up to you since you're the host. Did want to highlight one of PJ's comments. He said it was about I think it was about 10 minutes ago. He put down the old versus new gamblers. So now that the gambler is getting older and not enough youth getting. Hang on, PJ, the hell did you write? Jesus. All right, let me try this one more time. Do you all think the gambler is getting older and not enough youth getting involved? They want the pools. Oh, so basically what he's asking is, now that, younger people are, getting their bigger share of wealth, and older people are kind of getting in there. Like, what do we think the future of the gaming is going to be? Old versus young gaming. Actually, I think Steph, you should probably jump into this, because your kid is, out of the lot of us, you have the oldest kid here. I'm not sure if George has kids, but okay, George does not have kids. So Mini Steph is the closest to being a 21-year-old. What does she think of gaming and slot machines and things like that? How does she feel about
I think that she's going to be interested in them, and it's kind of scary for me, but they already, I don't know if your daughter plays Roblox, but Roblox has their own little casinos in there. She's been playing at the little fake casinos for quite a few years now. She was probably like 9 or 10 years old. She's been, doing those types of things. So, but I think that she knows from watching me, hopefully, that you really, really have to be very frugal about it, and you should never gamble more than you can afford to gamble, or and we basically, just, if I ever go to the casino and play, I'm playing free play, so, or sticking $3 in the mega bucks machine.
And whatever happens, right? No, I agree with you. So yeah, Mini Ace, she's not a big Roblox player. She's a lot more skill-based games. She likes the Crash Team Racing, the Mario Kart, the Super Smash Brothers. She wants to let you know that she beat you. She wants to let you know that you got beat down, okay? That it was a 1v1 and she took you out, right? And if you did, GG. And if not, it's like, hey, cool, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna get better at this. She's actually a really good sport about it. She's very competitive, but she's a very good sport. My nephew, he's really big on the Fortnite and all that. So, my nephew and my daughter, they play the Fortnite together and all that. So it's a lot of, in my family, it's a lot of skill-based gaming, especially with the kids too. They want a fair fight. It's the big thing. And naturally, gambling, it's just not a fair fight. So it's a thrill for guys like us. And, even then, some of us, like, me, for example, y'all know I prefer craps. I prefer blackjack, where I've got some semblance, where I can put together some semblance of a strategy instead of praying to the casino gods or whatever. Not the best strategy, obviously, with the best strategy you can play in those situations. And that's a preference of mine. So, but I don't think it's really the pool. I think it's going to be more the direct one-on-one engaging experiences and all that, because PJ mentioned the pools and the clubs and all that. And I don't think those are that popular with the younger generation now, with the, Gen Z kids like 25 or 21 and all that. I don't see him going to the clubs. I don't really see him going to bars too. They're a lot more homebody. They'll have a watch party, or it'll be like, hey, we'll just go ahead and go to this place or whatever. Then we can go back home, or that sort of thing. But they're a lot more online. I don't see them hitting. I mean, obviously they're still going to be hitting clubs. There's going to be hitting restaurants and all that. But they're going to do the foodie thing. They'll get online. They're going to say lols. I don't know. It's giving this vibe, so on and so forth. I don't know the slang anymore because I'm getting old. It'd be like that. Don't judge me. But I'm not. I think the clubbing and the pool party thing and all that, I think that was a very much Gen X millennial thing. So those are probably just going to slow down a little bit just to match our sensibilities as Gen Xers as they're getting older, us millennials as we're getting older. Now that most of us are in our mid-30s at least, and I'm coming up on my late 30s pretty soon here, going into the 40s and all that. Going to slow down with that, but it's going to be a lot more cabanas for us and that sort of thing there. Whereas, Gen Z and Gen Alpha kids, I think they're going to be popping in, like, knocking back whatever, hitting the VR arena if they don't have something at home, and then they're just going to be kind of doing their own thing. I think it's going to be a little more specialized.
Sure.
But I think it's definitely going to be more fights.
Like, the only thought I just had on that was, and it kind of goes back to something George mentioned about the Formula One weekend. I think probably a lot of us underrate how important the really, really big spenders are in Las Vegas. And
Sure.
that, again, that would also go back to what Kevin said with Caesars. It's like, you don't, if you have one guy come into your casino and lose $10 million that weekend, who cares about anything else?
I mean, that's exactly, that's F1 right there. Right? the big thing, but that's what you want. You want the big whales, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that the Ace has it right to an extent. The youngest generation right now, the 20s, the mid 20s, they want an experience, and I think that'll going forward be what they want. Isn't necessarily a pool. Some might want the pool, but some want to go to those new fancy restaurants where it's not just a restaurant. You got a DJ or you got a show going on.
Yeah, that's another thing. The shows, they miss concerts. Concerts is a big thing.
I mean, they have these restaurants where these dancers are going in and around, performers, lights. It's everything but a restaurant. I mean, it's like, right. And so people want to experience something new, and so every restaurant is one up in each other. And then the younger generation can't really afford a house, but they don't really want the house and the white picket fence. They would rather go on a hike, or they want to buy a van and travel the world. They want to get experiences. They don't care about buying stuff. They're not so materialistic.
Right. Well, actually, you know, I might fight you a little bit on that last bit over there, because I think it depends too. So millennials, 100%, I agree with you. Gen Z, it seems to be a weird split. Are you familiar with gotcha mechanics?
No.
Okay, so gotcha games. They're these games where it's like collectible things, and they call it gotcha games. So what you do is you play these games, and they're either like fighting games or RPG games or whatever. And it's kind of like a gamble mechanic. You get these loot boxes or whatever. So it comes in on the Call of Duty, and then there are these mobile games where you're playing these RPGs or whatever, and you get certain characters, and you get to level them up, so on and so forth. It's a whole thing. And they're basically doing like trading cards. Like you get like like what happens, you log in, and then you get basically a pack, what would amount to a pack of trading cards, but it's equivalent to a video game. So let's say, I don't know, we'll go with Call of Duty. So you log into your Call of Duty, you get your little loot box and all that. Instead of getting like a Hank Aaron trading card or whatever, you open it and you get like AK-47, you get automatic pistol or whatever. And then some of them, they're rated differently. Like they got rares, they got legendaries, so on and so forth. It becomes a whole big thing for them. And it's like a prestige thing. So you get advantages that way, and it looks really good. So they seem to, so Seth plays, she plays, yeah, you get that in Roblox.
Which game do you do your gotcha through? I don't know.
Isn't it like that game that used to happen where people would go and search for stuff? You remember that? What was that game?
No.
That's what she does it with. Valorant.
She does it in Valorant. Yeah. So all the first-person shooters, they all do that. So you get different skins and all that. But it's a prestige thing now. So they want something tangible to a degree. Yeah, Pokemon's kind of like that too.
Yeah, Pokemon.
No, they do it in Pokemon too. They have this whole, it's Pokemon Unite. So you get like a base level of things that you get, and then you can put a little extra in, whether it's time or money. So you have the option, and then you get a little something else. You get either an edge in play because you have access to something that someone else wouldn't, or it just looks better. And this is something that they're willing to invest their money in. They'll put it into the microtransactions. And, you know, these companies are just these mobile game companies are just making billions upon billions upon billions of dollars selling, you know, digital assets that cost them nothing to make. You know, they make it once, they pay their artists like $40 an hour or whatever it is. And then everybody spends $10 on it or whatever. And then they've made $40 million off of one $40 thing. And that's a big thing with teenagers and, you know, college kids now, like when they're playing those games. So that's a huge thing. And I feel like Vegas is going to find a way to capture that somehow in these new properties, especially that Atari hotel that's coming out. Like, come on, that's gonna take advantage of that. I don't know.
That's kind of what Vegas is doing. Is there that game is kind of an experience that you pay for and get these useless awards, but it's kind of like a scavenger hunt. So it is kind of experience, and that's what the Vegas restaurants
are
combination.
Doing. Yes,
they're giving you experience and upcharging you for the food and drink and the shows.
Yep. So you're going to pay a little something extra, and then instead of just blue flames, you're going to get green flames or whatever when they do your flambe. That's what's going to happen. That's the shit that's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you think about it, and I'm sure it's not true for everyone here. In fact, it's probably less true for the group of people we have here than a similar group of degenerates that I could have assembled. But I mean, when you really think about it, and I'm not sure how you morph this or develop it to a more for a younger audience, but I mean, we can all say that we never played for comps. We can all say that we never, oh well, maybe I made diamond or gold or whatever. But I mean, that's kind of this. I mean, there are advantages, but it's kind of a little bit of a you're buying something that really in and of itself isn't real. If I'm gambling and I gamble enough so I'm diamond, I'm like, oh look, I'm diamond. It's like I have like a new weapon in the game or something.
That's actually that's a perfect analogy, actually. That I'm MGM Gold. I don't pay those stupid resort fees. I have a weapon that lets me bypass resort fees, so I'm already
and then
in here.
I lose all that money in the casino otherwise.
Yeah, you really have to be careful. If you absolutely, totally only gamble when you enjoy gambling and you get the benefits on top of that, you're playing the game right. If you start gambling 1, 2, 5% more than you normally would have just to chase the next level,
sure,
you just got beat by the casino.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's nearly impossible to get gold right now. So I mean,
it got so bad with the jump. I agree with you.
And that's just gold.
I used to play blacks and craps before I moved here, but when I moved here, it's all I play is poker. The only game I play is one I have an edge on. All right, that's it.
Well, I wonder, and I was thinking about this earlier and kind of skipped my mind because we got on another topic, but there was that sort of poker craze for a while, and now we have this sort of sports betting craze. And I wonder if the reason for it is that people, most of them mistakenly, probably feel like these are games they can win. They are games of skill, to go back to Ace's daughter and her desire to show that I'm really good at something, versus playing even craps or but certainly slots where it's always just like the god of luck. The feeling that, hey, if I win at poker, it's because I was really good, or if I win at sports betting, it's because I'm really smart and I understand these teams and I've studied them. Any thoughts on that?
Well,
go ahead.
With poker and sports, you can make a living.
Yeah.
It is kind of like a professional baseball or football player. It's the 1% of the 1%.
Sure.
First, you have to have money, but you have to know what you're doing and be really good at it and work like a horse, and you can make the margins to live off that. But how many professional slot players do you know? And I'm not talking about influencers who get credits on games but takes all your own money and makes money off of slots. You could do that in poker and sports.
Believe it or not, I know a few that play slots for a living.
Yeah, so there are a few. There's a tiny,
and how they do it are they understand the machines and the bonuses, and they look for the bonuses. They know when they're going to hit, and they make a living off of looking for machines that are close to hitting bonuses. So they're really good at that, right? But very few. In fact,
that's the 1% of the 1% that can do that.
Yeah.
I know several hundred people that play poker for a living here.
Yeah, there's
and they come. Like for me, when I play poker for fun, I'll make the majority of my money right now when the World Series is in town, because then people will come, from out of town that think they can play poker. And it's same as me. Is when I moved here, I thought I was a good poker player, and the truth is, I was good as long as I was playing against golfers.
You were good against normal people.
Good against people that didn't play for a living, and now I can play with anybody, but it's like that kind of happens on the whole thing. And I have one friend that was a professional poker player, a great player, and now he plays slots for a living. So it can happen, but it's crazy. Not that many. With slots, it's probably the one out of 100,000 that does that, right? Very, very, very few. But there are a few that do it. When I first heard about it, I thought it was a joke, but it's not a joke. There are people that do it.
Yeah, especially like George has it right. If you're a professional poker player, you live in Vegas because you just feast off of those tourist poker players that come on in, and many of them know what they're doing. They know they're playing against a local pro at one or two of the chairs, and they know they're probably going to lose, but they just like facing a local pro who knows what they're doing. They like the experience and the vibe, and they don't mind losing $300 to $500, just like a slot player. But that's where the local pros just feast off these people that come in for the weekend and just take their money.
Yeah, historically, probably for the last 10 years, you know, I track how much I make per hour playing poker. And during the World Series 2 months, I'll make 5 times as much per hour.
Yeah.
To give you an idea. I mean, it's just so.
Well, I you know, that brings to mind something, you know, just, and we're probably going to wrap up here pretty soon. I got to get back and check the baby and all, but just thinking about the experience that you get from gambling, and I think sometimes the casinos have not necessarily realized that. Like I'm pretty sure that everybody in the chat has lost money, lost hundreds of dollars at one time playing slots or whatever their game of choice may be. But what gets so frustrating is the feeling of losing, and we're willing to lose that money, Caesars, MGM. We're willing to drop that $500. We'd rather get a little more play out of it, you know? And I just feel like sometimes, you know, and it's always anecdotal because people say, well, I went to Vegas and I couldn't win on anything. Well, you just got unlucky, to be honest. But it does feel like sometimes that they want to take your money without really giving you much of an experience. And that's not going to play well, I don't believe, with this younger generation. They want an experience, as we've been talking about. They want something. They don't want to just sit there and put $100 bills in a machine for 45 minutes and then go back to their room.
No, I agree with you on that. And that comes back to, again, I keep bringing up the video games and how competitive my kid is. No idea where she gets that from, by the way. Wasn't me. But, I mean, I get it too, because I like a fair fight. And statistically speaking, I mean, again, we're going back to, it's a combination of the information age. So everybody knows that the payback percentage on a slot machine, if you're in a good spot, 93%, and that's over millions and millions and millions of spins, not the 1,000 that you might get, definitely not the 100 that you would get. That's not a payback percentage that's going to happen. You're going to lose all that in the 100. We already know that. So the information age and knowing that you're going into a rigged game is hurting it. And I think that's why poker and sports betting, because that's more of a, what's the word for it? It's a PvP experience. It's a player versus player experience. So, you know, you're fighting a real person and it's somebody else. So with poker, you're like, hey, it's another dude over there. This is just a regular dude. This is just Kevin. This is just George. This is just Steph. These are just regular people. I can beat regular people. It's whatever. So you feel, I feel like in those instances, and George, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but if you lose at poker, like, you know, you're not happy about it, but you're at least like, I guess I lost fair and square. It is what it is. You know, the better man won today. Better woman won today.
Yeah, I mean, the goal of poker is just have your money in good. That doesn't mean you're not going to get unlucky and lose. And you know what I mean. So,
but you know, it was a 1v1. Whereas, you know, if you're putting in $100 in a slot machine and you're done in 5 minutes, you're like, hey, man, what is this thing, rigged?
Yeah,
right.
That's just how it is. And you know that. And now that we have all that information there, and there are the options. That's another thing. Having the options. Doing more skill-based games, doing more player versus player experiences. So that's just the direction people are going, because they want entertainment to be fair. They want games to be fair, especially competitive gaming communities and all that. There's an obsession. There's a freakish obsession with fairness. It's step back to Valorant. That's what your daughter plays, right? Valorant.
Yeah, that's one of the games she likes.
All right. If I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, and she can tell us too. Just drag her on here and tell us. But if I remember correctly, it's a team shooter, and everybody has access to the same characters. So you're playing a mirror match every single time. There's like a tanky guy, there's a quick little scouty guy, there's a sniper guy, and all that. So everybody's got the thing. So it's just a question of who's the better sniper, who's the better tanky guy, who's the better explosive expert, that sort of stuff.
I think
right?
so, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it plays out, and I think that's what people want. They want it to be like as even a playing field as possible. They'll ban anything that wants to be unfair. Like, you should see these Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh games and all that. I'll watch people play it. I'm like, you guys are so obsessed with everything being perfectly fair, but it's a big thing. It's a big thing. So if something's not perfectly fair, people are going to know about it. it's going to get everywhere, and they're not going to participate. I feel like that's the direction we're going. Was that a cohesive thought? I don't think it was. I'm going to go on mute.
I think so.
Yeah. So like I said, we'll probably wrap up here shortly. Just wanted to go around the table, literally, and see if anybody had any other thoughts about Las Vegas, either prompted by tonight's discussion or just something they wanted to share before we wrap this up. I hope we can, we've talked about this a little bit. Hopefully we can do this a little more frequently than once a year with a revolving cast of characters. But for tonight, here on March 31st, just a few hours from April Fool's Day, and some of us are fools every day, just one last time around the table, and we'll start with you, Kevin.
Big loss on Tuesday. 3 a.m. the casino closes on Tuesday. High noon, food and beverage closes down. Then they'll whisk away the final visitors. At the resort that has the oldest resort rooms on the Strip, 1957, the 2 wings bungalow rooms. So people stayed in those rooms in 1960 and then went to see the Summit at the Sands in January and February. The next oldest rooms will be at Sahara. The first tower, the Tunis Tower, was built in 1960. Those are the oldest rooms now, the oldest resort rooms. The oldest hotel room is at the Travel Lodge just north of Circus. That opened in 58, but I believe the motel itself opened in 52 and was converted into a Travel Lodge in 58. So I'm still checking on that, but so I think the room existed in 52, but it'll be the oldest room overall in 58, oldest resort room, 1960 Sahara. But we are now losing the 50s as far as the classic Strip casinos. Wow. This is it.
Wow. Ace.
You know, I think we do have to get ready for a lot of big changes coming to Vegas. We're not going to be able to keep our Vegas Golden Age. Everyone's got their own Vegas Golden Age. That's just how it was. For me, Vegas Golden Age was 2011 to probably about 2017. That's as long as I've been going to Vegas, like 2017, 2018-ish. But that's that Vegas Golden Age. That's when we had all the best My Vegas comps. That's when, all my favorite stuff was open. That's when, I got my wife to start coming with me to Vegas, and also when I got married, that sort of stuff, yada, yada, yada. But I think we're going to have to start letting go and finding the little pockets for ourselves, because everything's going to change. We're not getting the theming back. Resorts World abandoned it. Fontainebleau abandoned it. And even so, those aren't doing great right now. On a Tuesday night, they're not doing nearly as much as Bellagio or Resorts World, at least from normal people. That's going to be a big thing. The cost of these places are going to keep going up because it's going to get more and more expensive to build them. They're so far behind, and it's all going to be changing very rapidly, especially as sensibilities change and as the information age continues to expand. More people are getting access to this stuff. We're seeing more Vegas channels pop up every day because everybody has access to a massively high definition camera and outstanding audio equipment, just something that they can carry around in their pocket now. Everybody's got that now. It's insane. Every phone has 8 cameras on it. Why? No real reason to, but we can do that. And
you see these professional YouTubers, and they're just using their phone.
They're just using their phone. They really are. And we're going to have to get used. So now that we have that available, and we're going to have to get used to these rapid changes, and your Vegas is going to be a little different. I'm not sure if that's going to impact locals casinos, if they're going to, jump in on that. I don't think we're going to see that in Colorado personally, but I wouldn't be surprised if locals casinos decided to start bringing up people that like the old Vegas better. But old Vegas, it's Jover, boys, as the Gen Z kids say. It's Jover, boys. No more old Vegas. Everything's going to be changing, and I think it's going to be changing more rapidly than things were changing in the 80s and the 90s when the mega resort craze hit. It's going to be real fast, real furious, and you're just going to have to find your niche and stick with it as a visitor going forward. That's what I'm expecting for the future.
Okay.
George, you've been such a great panelist here today, and you haven't even that pimped out your app. So please do that for us as you leave your parting thoughts.
Before I pimp it out, and I will pimp it out, thanks for that. But I just want to mention that one of the things we didn't talk a lot about was the Sphere and just the concert experience here. I don't know if you guys have been to a show there. And by the way, I have no skin in the game. They did invite me to go to U2, so I got to see it there on opening weekend. But it's life-changing. It's the best place in the world to ever watch a concert. It's a place that you have to go. You just have to do it. And before that, I really thought Dolby Live was that place, right? Because Dolby Live, the sound quality is so good at Park MGM that it's different watching a concert there versus somewhere else because it sounds so darn good. But the Sphere, I just can't. I don't even know those guys. I hope to meet them here pretty soon, but it's incredible. So I would really encourage you guys to go to something there. And now we have a new feature in the app, by the way, that you can sort by venue. So you want to find everything that's going on at T-Mobile or at the Sphere, it's all in the app. But let me do my little pitch on the app. I missed a Journey concert, I don't know, 7 years ago, and I got mad that I thought I was the guy everybody asked what was fun to do or see here, and I thought I knew what was fun to do or see. I woke up one morning, missed a Journey concert, got so mad I decided to do my own app. This has become the largest mobile app project I'm sure that's ever been done for a single city or area. Had up to 40 people working on it for 7 years. A world-class team. I mean, most apps are done by one guy, so please go check it out. But just the amount of things that you can do here that are just crazy is so cool. Our tagline is, if it's fun to do or see, it's on Vegas near me. But some of the stuff I run into people all day go, I live here. I know everything there is to do. And I'll say, well, did you know you could ride camels in the desert? Did you know you could shoot machine guns from a helicopter? Right? There's a business here called Love Cloud, where you fly in a plane up over the city with your significant other, right, to join the Mile High Club. There's just so many unique things here, and that is crazy. And you were talking about the younger generations. I counted up while you were talking, and I found out there's 33 different virtual reality places in the app. Isn't that crazy? I mean, when I moved here, there were none. There's 33 different places here, right? And so things are changing, and no matter what your age is, there's something fun to do or see here. And I don't think there's any place in the world like it. No matter what you want to do, there's something you can do, and that's why I love living here so much. Encourage you guys, if you guys ever come to town, George at Vegas near me, just look me up and send me an email. I'd love to meet you guys when you come into town.
Thanks, George.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, George.
I'm just happy to be here. Looking forward to all Vegas has to bring. You know, I love Vegas, and I'll be a part of anything new to come, and still exploring all the old stuff as well. Oh, cookie. Cookie
That looks like a big time Hollywood.
There it is.
Thanks for having me, JR, and happy Easter to all of you.
Sorry we didn't get you in here earlier. I know we had some.
That's okay. I had some trouble getting on, but I'm glad to be here. Oops, there goes my little thing.
Make it in. And,
there we go.
So hopefully we'll. I don't know when we'll try to do this again, but we're not going to wait a whole year. I think
awesome. Let's do it.
A pretty good discussion, and we've actually been sort of gaining viewers as it's gone on. So we'll maybe try to promote a little more the next time too. But I think something that George said or alluded to is probably kind of maybe a good way to wrap this thing up. Is like, we don't know what Vegas is going to bring us in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or even weeks for that matter. But it has been for many years and I think they sell it this way, sort of the entertainment capital of the world. And so there's some, we've talked about Bally's. There's some companies whose maybe not the best run places in the world, but by and large, the people that have invested a lot of money in Las Vegas and are operating these casinos, they're pretty smart by and large, and they're going to Vegas is going to become what people want it to be. And, you know, obviously, as we get older, myself, I now officially count myself as old. You know, that there's going to be another generation that's going to come along. Those 40s and 50-year-old people are going to take the place of me. And they're going to have different things that they want to do. You know, I think as we get older, maybe we're happier just being able to just sit at a bar and play a machine for a while. It doesn't tire us out so much. But, you know, whether it's, you know, interactive experiences, sports wagering, some sort of skill-based gaming that we have yet to really see. I mean, they've tried that kind of thing, but it hasn't really caught on. But Vegas is going to come up with things that are going to continue to attract people there. The same things that would have attracted, I mean, maybe all of us would have been happy to go to a show at the Summit and see the Rat Pack. But probably not a lot of kids nowadays would think that that was a great experience, particularly if they had to dress up in a suit. Well, other than Ace. So I guess, you know, to sum up, we have no idea what Vegas is going to be in 5 or 10 years. And, you know, we consider ourselves experts of a sort. But I suspect it's going to continue to be a destination that people, regardless of their age, are going to flock to. And the people in charge are either going to adapt to that, or they're going to be replaced by new people in charge who will. All right. Well, once again, I'll wish everybody a happy Easter and hope your week is well. And thank you all for contributing for free a significant period of your evening tonight. Enjoyed talking to all
you
of
haven't gotten the invoice yet.
It's great to be here, JR. Great to see you all.
Send that to the same place as the hospital bill goes.
This is going to be a double bill because it's on Easter.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Triple time.
Double time instead of time and a half.
Well, I suppose on that bombshell we should sign off.
All right. Well, I'm sorry we were not able to bring Izzy into the show tonight. He's been calm. I don't even think he cried in the background, but one of these days, he will premiere as well on the show. He is doing well. He cries too much. He eats too much. He poops too much. But I hear that's normal with babies.
Healthy baby.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, I'll wish you all a good night, and we'll talk to you all again soon. And we'll try to do this again a little more often. And thanks also to those of you who joined us in the chat, who watched along with us.
Hit the thumbs up if you haven't yet.
Yes, please hit that thumbs up. If you're not
drop a comment
to the channel, feel free to do that. I don't really worry about that stuff much anymore, but feel free to do so. It does help us out. And hey, you can watch this later if you really want to see what you said. All right. Good night, all.
I'll be in the comment section later. Bye, you guys.
All right.
Take
Strong
care.
hands and happy spinning, all.